I'd been looking for one of these for a very long time. I found this on Facebook Marketplace. I struck up a deal with the seller, and it included a broom as well. So here's a little video about this tractor. It was a 3.5 hour drive down. I had to stop at Tractor Supply and get some chain binders. I don't own a trailer of my own yet, so I had to stop at my aunt's house here and pick up her trailer, which was only about a half hour out of the way on the way down there. And then here's some really wild back roads. My brakes got pretty hot a few times on these roads, for sure. Hey, there's some highway. There's that Jeep. There's that Jeep. Hey, a little bit more highway. A little bit more highway. Surprising how much highway there is now. It seems like most of the trip was all back roads. I was somewhat rushed and didn't want to spend the time to set up the camera to record this better. So this is what we get. I just turned the camera around while I was on the tripod in my truck. Here we are loading the broom that came with it, and here he is explaining a bunch of things to me. Unfortunately, it's about now that the camera battery ran out, and this is all we get. But here it is loaded up. We just backed our trailers back to each other and drove the tractor and the implement from one to the other. Here it is tied onto the trailer, ready for another 3.5 hour ride home. And notice the chain is chained to the frame of the tractor and not the mower deck, especially not that front bar going across the mower deck, because those can bend quite easily. And here it is tucked away underneath my porch at home. It looks like it got rained on, but it didn't. The tires are just wet. So what's so special about a Steiner tractor? Well, obviously it has 8 wheels, 4-wheel drive, so technically 8-wheel drive, we could say. And you can put all sorts of different attachments on the front of it. It has a pair of arms at the front that you can put on a mower deck or a front loader or a sweeper or plow or a dozer blade. So you can put a lot of things on here. And it comes with different engines. Unfortunately, this is only the Kohler 25 horsepower, I think, engine. But they also came with a Kubota 25 horsepower diesel and a higher horsepower, I forget the horsepower, Kubota gas engine as well. There's a PTO belt connection at the front to drive implements off of the front. It has hydraulic deck lift. It also has a hydraulic auxiliary circuit and hydraulic steering. Unfortunately, mine needs an end connection. That one's a little worn out. You can also get a 3-point hitch for these. Unfortunately, there's no rear PTO, so it's only for unpowered implements like a landscape rake or a rear blade. With the auxiliary circuit, you can also mount on the 3-point hitch something like a bucket or something that has a little bit of power actuation. So this is a Steiner 430. Steiner has also made older versions like an S20, a 420, a 430, a 440, a 450 is the current one. The Steiner brothers sold the company to, I think it was Jacobson a while ago, and then after their do not compete ran out, they started another company called Ventrac. Ventrac was recently bought out by Toro, and Steiner is now owned by Doosan or something like that, so it's all just giant corporate cats buying and selling companies at this point. It's a little bit irritating to me personally. Anyways, one disadvantage of this is when there's nothing on the front, it's really light on the front, especially when you have some counterweights on the back. And so it's steering and traction on hills is not very good. Oh, come on. Woo! Also, the parking brake on this needs adjusted, so it's not so great on hills right now. This machine has 1,200 hours. Commonly, these machines can have 3,000 or 4,000 hours before the whole machine's worn out. The engines, unfortunately, don't last as long as the rest of the machine, so you'll commonly see these with completely new rebuilt engines. Honda engine swaps are actually kind of common on these type of tractors. This tractor was made in Dalton, USA. I think that's Ohio, Dalton, Ohio. And in this case, it also has a Textron sticker, which is another corporation that may have had their fingers in the business. I know that Textron made at least one implement for this, and that's a loader. Sold by Jim's Equipment Repair in Campbell, New York. Unfortunately, I don't know what year this is. The serial numbers are really cryptic, and they don't indicate what year it was built, unlike a lot of other tractors where the serial number tells a lot. In this case, the serial number is J9746, whatever that means. These also have a seat belt for good reason, because they can go on hills and wet ground really well. And in this case, this machine has some storage containers on the sides. Now, because of the dual wheels, it can actually go up to a 30-degree side slope. But I commonly hear of guys that have mowed with these at even steeper than 30 degrees. In my case, I did a hill just next door, and it was only 25 degrees, and this tractor felt really planted, as long as I had a little bit of lift on the mower deck to keep the front wheels planted. Otherwise, it doesn't really steer that well. Also, I offer t-shirts. Check them out down below. That one's a little bit friendly, but not all the way friendly. Additionally, with such wide and numerous tires, the ground pressure is really low. So this actually works really well in wet ground. So far lower ground pressure than just my feet, obviously, and can go in a lot of places where I would not be able to walk. Nope. And if that isn't enough, I am getting some more. Just waiting for the seller to get back. But I have to put my real shoes on right now because I'm sure this is going to involve a lot of ratcheting. So this is the day after I bought the first 430. I saw these on Facebook Marketplace, and I offered $2,000. He said $2,500, and so now I own 3 Steiners. They're both mechanic specials, though. Don't run. No, this wouldn't be a flip up because it has solid bars here that wouldn't allow it. Looks like I might get a mouse too. Maybe spin it at 90 and then we'll get one end on, and then we can lift the other end, so we're not really lifting the whole deck at once. Just spin it this way. Yeah. Then we'll lift this end up, and then the other end will. Does this one roll as it is?
I don't know. So,
Seems like it does. Is that all it's doing?
one more time. Slipping here.
I think we might be able to just unbolt that and put that tire on.
Well, here's the question. How hard is it to put the adapter on? We might be able to just put the adapter and that tire on rather than take that one off.
Oh, you know, that might do it too.
In there, looks like it's off to one side.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just my imagination.
I wonder if we can just take this off like that and hook this on. Because I think that's part of the problem, because there's not enough play to get the hook on while it's in the box. I gotta get yeah, a little bit more. Pretty sure this isn't the factory way that this goes on, with the nut as a spacer. Huh. I have some big crescent wrenches too.
Yeah, I got one.
I'll get the jack. Do you have a shovel? So I can get this jack under the arm, unless you have a shorter jack.
No,
I just need to.
I don't know if you can have a shovel.
I just need to scoop out like 2 inches of gravel to get it in here. I just got the. That will work. I wonder if these are. They're a little loose.
Can't lift that.
There we go. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I'd say that's enough.
All right. All right. Can you steer it away from that? Do I need to come and give it a yank with you?
Yeah, mine.
You might come? Okay. I don't want to pull down your barn. Garage. I don't know what that's for. And unfortunately, that's where my camera battery ran out again. Here's everything loaded up, except for the engine. It's not quite in the right spot. The mower deck is 500 to 600 pounds, plus that engine, plus the extra chains and wheels and tires and the box extenders, and of course the tractors themselves, and it's a lot of weight. So about a mile into the drive, I noticed that I was pretty much riding on the bump stops, and I had to reposition my load. So I took a lot of the things that were in the bed of the truck and I moved them up into the cab as far forward as I could. I moved everything in the bed of the truck forward in the bed of the truck too, and I moved the tractors both back about a foot, and that gave me enough suspension travel to feel comfortable. And I made it home all right, and the kid definitely approves. I had the 410 tarped up because it was threatening to rain. I didn't unload these immediately when I got them. This is like a few days later. First I have to take off the dually And now I have to take off the extender box that's bolted onto the hub of the tractor. Unfortunately, everything was spinning, so I was trying to make sure it was in gear. I had put it in neutral to get it on the trailer. But everything just keeps spinning. But the impact driver took care of that, no problem. Now I have to remove the extender box from that outside wheel and put it on the inside. And that side's all done. I'm trying to make the tractor a little bit narrower here out on the trailer because I don't have a whole lot of room in the garage to work on things, and it's a little bit darker. So working out here in the daylight with lots of room, it's just the smart, easy thing to do before I try to get it down into my tight space of a garage. Unfortunately, I was having a problem with every single one of these bolts and nuts. Here I'm seeing if I can just air up the tire. And it seems like it's just not gonna work. And I had the most impossible time trying to get the fresh tire onto this wheel hub. It turns out the studs that were sticking out are actually just bolts. And the head of the bolt is kind of rounded off and it's pressed into the hub. And so the bolt just spins and I can't tighten it. And now it's stuck. So ultimately I think that this one, and you'll see shortly the back tire on the same side, I'll need to cut off a bolt to get them back off of the tire or off of the tractor so that I can repair them properly and maybe install some new studs and, if possible, weld the studs in place, but not too securely so they could be removed in the future if needed. And here the stud just popped out the back of the hub, so I'm trying to grab it with a ratchet on the back side to tighten it back into the hub. Here I am trying to press the bolt that is a stud back into its socket so it doesn't spin. And then I noticed that that stud is completely stripped. Ultimately, the entire tractor needs all new bolt studs all the way around the four corners. Notice here the stud is a little bit crooked. And yes, I'm using a plastic cheater pipe. Shouldn't be doing that. Ah, look at that. It just popped right off. It should not do that. And in fact, while editing this video, last night I took the duals off of my running tractor, and one of them was attached in a similar manner. Ultimately, I give up on this one and just hope it holds air long enough to get it into the garage. Dripping off the front right of the tractor is the oldest, nastiest gas I've ever smelled. Here I'm hoping really hard that I can stop it. Nope. I could not get the ramp under it in time. Luckily that ramp isn't completely useless. Unlike the last tractor, the steering actually works on this tractor, so I can guide it towards the ramps more easily. I was really hoping it would roll down easily on its own, but the hydrostatic transmission in this had other ideas. I think the gears were still engaged. And this little shaft here is what controls going into neutral and maybe a high gear or a low gear. I don't know if this has 2-speed transmissions in it. So I'm trying to shift it into neutral, at least the front transmission. I don't even know if the back transmission has a similar setup. Here we are about 2 weeks later, and I realized while editing the video that I never said what I was doing with these. And literally I haven't touched them since I put them in here. But a guy was just here today. That's another story. He said that he has a replacement for this engine, completely rebuilt, brand new, out of a Steiner. So it should be a drop-in. So he said with a 410, with a Performer 20, it has full 1.25" axles instead of 1.125", I think, which means that it has a better transaxle under there. So this is a much better unit, and it actually has the same transaxle as the 430, or the same quality of transaxle. So it's pretty heavy duty. And these engines came in 25 or 27 horsepower. Unfortunately, I don't know of a way to tell which one this is. I don't know where any stampings are. Normally there'd be some sort of sticker. Well, there's a sticker. Yeah, good luck reading that. And then there would be some other sticker here as an air shroud covering the cooling fins. But I don't know. There's nothing here. And I haven't pressure washed it. There's probably some sort of numbers down there. So I guess we'll see. Hey, what's that arm do? Nope. That arm's just kind of hanging out on that one too. Huh. And this one's got a snippet wire. Does it even have lights? It has one light. Who knows if it works. Interesting. So these are kind of a basket case. They're not even that high of an hours. So this one's at 1,700 hours. So that's like maybe halfway through its life. And then this one is at 868 hours. So either that's broken or this one's still pretty young. So it's actually in pretty good shape. It just has some sheet metal work here that needs to be addressed. And of course the engine, and then there's a leak down there too. So do that and it should be a decent tractor. Of course it needs cleaned up, needs a new seat, and a real good cleaning. Sorry, it's nighttime while I'm editing this video, and I just have to add, well, this is how I am storing these 60-inch mower decks under my porch where it's dry. And which one? I think it came with this one. But here's where they are. And these mower decks need a little bit of work too. Like this roller here is not spinning. This one is the one I mowed the yard with, and it's actually okay. But this one needs some work. Which one's the newer one? You can tell which one's the newer one because, all right, this one doesn't have any sort of bungee hook, so this is the old one, and this is a newer model of mower. This is a spare engine that came with them. It's supposed to be a replacement engine for the 410. I'm not sure that I'm going to use it though. And I'm just making a note to myself, connect the truck to the trailer before I try driving the tractor onto this hill. The entire time dragging this off, I'm trying to do it without ripping the tailgate guard off. There's a cover on the tip of my tailgate. Don't worry, I rip it off a week later. It's a little bent up and needs straightened. For those who haven't been following along, I'm attaching the mower deck from the two broken tractors deal to my running tractor from the first deal. I used it in this configuration to mow the front lawn of our business and house. A disadvantage of the dualies is the 60-inch deck that it came with was too narrow to cover the wheels. But that's not all. The same night that I bought the first Steiner, I was looking on eBay for completed and sold listings, and I found this mower deck. You can see the bottom one there. 22 bids, $400. It did not sell. Or it sold and the new owner did not pick up the mower deck. I never got the story from the seller. So I messaged him. I said, hey, put that back up for $425 so you get your $400 after eBay fees. And so I went and picked this up. There it is mounted on his tractor still. He had a Steiner 230, and it also came with a blower and a collection bin. But they definitely need a lot of work, both of them. When I went to go pick up that new Steiner 72-inch mower deck, I also took one of my tractors to a rental property that I own 2 hours away because it was kind of on the way. So now I have 2 John Deeres at my other rental property. I used the big one to mow the grounds there, and the small one, the 185, has a cracked mower deck, so I need to repair it. I still had my aunt's trailer at this point, so when I took the 425 to my rental property, I took that down to the 72-inch mower deck seller's house so he could just drive his 230 right onto the trailer with the mower deck. And then I transported the mower deck and the blower and the bin to my aunt's house so that I could drop off the trailer. To drop off the trailer, I had to lift everything into my truck, which wasn't over the weight limit or too large, so it would fit, but it was just a lot easier to transport on the trailer. But at this point, I could leave the trailer with her house and then drive back to my house. It's just a giant circle at this point of driving. Her tractor as stock only came with the left handle on the fender, so as her birthday present, I installed the right fender handle, which I bought from Messics.com. And here's a John Deere 46-inch mower on top of a Steiner 72-inch mower. There's a very large difference in size. And these are some glamour photos of the Steiner a day after I bought it. And now's the time to see what's in these end storage containers. The previous owner said it was taped up before he got it. He was kind of just flipping it. And so the 2 owners ago had put this tape on for travel because these bounce a lot. And what do we have in here? Some nuts and bolts, this looks like string trimmer line, a wrench, made in Mexico, 2 rusted to tell, a big Allen key, and some more bolts and nuts, and some electrical tape. All right, what's in the other side? There we go. All right, what do we got in here? We got a belt and a bungee cord. So that's fun. It came with 2 belts, an AP46. I don't know what this is for. Some other sort of attachment. This is an A profile, so that's not even really what should be used on any of the PTO belts for here. And then this other belt that was tied on to the roll bar, it came with the tractor, is a B48. So it's a correct profile, but it's not the right size for, as far as I can tell, either of the PTO belts. The main PTO belt off the engine on these is a B39. I don't like these hooks or whatever that was put on here. They were used for, as far as the previous owner told me, for a shovel during the winter, which would explain a lot of the rust on this. If this had a lot of use in the winter, it would have corrosion all over the place, and it kind of does, but it's not too bad. Previous owner also put on some sort of broom or shovel or something mount there, and it prevents the hood from closing all the way, so there's a gap and it looks uneven across the top. So I'm going to take this off too. While functional, this hook is a little bit ugly, so I'm going to take it off too. have some belt slippage under high load, so I'm going to replace the belts on the PTO. Maybe also out to the deck. I don't know. We'll see.
It slips and takes a moment for it to catch up. And you never want to touch this PTO belt while the engine is on. That's a great way to lose some fingers.
Seven 16ths. Yes, it is. The 1/4 inch drive socket has a thinner wall. Can break the head of that right off. Actually, I don't know if it broke off. Let's see. No. Just a good snap when it came off. So, it only has one. The other one is clearly stripped and broken off in there. I wonder if I can remove that. Oh, nope, the riv nut's spinning. Alright. And then to get this off, there's 2 more bolts. What are you? Bigger than that. 5/8. 5/8 it is. Let's put a bigger bar on it so we don't have to fight it as much. There we go. At least that came off real easy. There's one bolt. And the other bolt. And the guard. Right, so that come off of there. There. Now it's in. And this guy can just go up here. Engage the tensioner. Still not enough. Huh. Even with... What is this for? What is that for, huh? I don't know. Is that something to help detension it? Is it supposed to be out? I don't know. Huh. Well, it doesn't have enough tension on it now, but I think when you put a deck on, that requires this to be over and therefore down. And when it's down, that tensions it more for when this tensioner is on. So we'll have to see if that's how it works. Yep. So I need to loosen the tensioner to get that on. Let's see, 2 turns does. There, she's in now. Now if it's too tight, the PTO will run with it disengaged. Which is the case. So I need to loosen it more. It's a little too tight still. When you lift it up, the PTO gets a little bit tighter, and it was engaging. So I'm going to do one more turn out on the adjuster. Clearly I was getting some chatter, so maybe that's a little bit too much. Let's try that. Still chattery. I wonder what's going on here. It may just need worn in some. There's a lot of friction even with it loose, that's for sure. One problem this 72-inch deck has is that I can't get the belt cover on because it hits on this arm here, and obviously there's some interference there. The reason that is somebody tied this down by this front bar on the mower. So they wrap the chain around this to the trailer, and then if it's facing backwards and the trailer stops real fast, then the whole tractor wants to go, and it just pulls tight on this because it's pulled back and down a little bit. So I'm going to try to straighten that. Now I could try pushing against a tree, but that risks it going too far. We're going to try hydraulics. Now, oftentimes with these, the pump, if you do it on a non-vertical surface, the pump will suck air and not work. Let me back up a hair. All right, I'd say that'll work. Put the pump on the bottom. still has to go some more. How's that look? That looks pretty darn straight. It still dips down a little bit in the middle though. And now to bend it up some, just have this pry bar, the block. It's bending the deck. I wonder if I could go maybe like that. That is pretty darn near straight. There's a little bit of action this way. Nope, a little bit more. There we go. That'll do it. Now, because this was bent out, so that means that this whole thing was kind of rotated, which meant this arm was too far over, which meant there wasn't a gap. Now I've straightened it. There's a gap on both sides. It's even. And there, I can put the belt cover back on now. Part of the reason these are so good in soft ground is because these tires are barely inflated. This is supposed to be at 3 psi and this one at 6 psi. Here's a whoa.
All right, let's put it to use. You see the belt tensions up a little bit when the mower deck comes up. I think I need to back off the tensioner a little bit. And here I am just cleaning up some stuff on the neighbor's property. I asked the neighbors if they wanted their field behind their business mowed, you know, just so I could offer some content for this video in particular, and to put on a Facebook page for my business that this is going to become. So he said, yeah, go ahead, mow it, have at it. And so here I'm mowing a little steep part that he doesn't mow with his little Husky ride-on tractor, and he's tried weed whacking those trees a few times, but they just got out of control. So I'm mowing this with the 430, and oh, that's a 72-inch deck, and it's a little bit rattly because I don't have the front guard bolted on right now. And I put my seatbelt on because it's kind of steep, and I don't want to fight the steepness, and there's no handles. I kind of wish it had handles on the sides, but the side covers lift up, so I can't really put handles on it. A huge disadvantage of that deck is, well, look at that. It doesn't have a very open front, so it bends over stuff, and the stuff doesn't hit the blades before it can be chopped off, or before the blades are past it already. So oftentimes I have to make multiple cuts. A problem with video recording anything on a steep hill is video does no justice to how steep something is. I measured this hill, the steepest portion, which is kind of on the bottom right of the hill, and I came out to 25 degrees. Now this tractor can supposedly mow up to 30 degrees, and I think it would mow even further. but at that point you're going to have oil starvation issues on the engine, so you don't want to mow more than that for maybe ever, or for long periods of time at least. You can see these trees, it takes, well, that's the second pass, and they still come up, so obviously it needs some more passes. And another thing I'm noticing is the deck really needs lifted up so that I can turn on hills. If I don't have any nose weight, it just doesn't have any steering traction. Some little trees it gets the first try. I think that one it got first try. You see I'm sliding sideways a little bit here. Need to lift up on the deck a little bit. My other deck has springs that are attached to it, so it pulls the front end down and kind of removes some of the weight from the deck, and that keeps the front wheels planted during all times. Again, lifting the deck so that I have some steering force. And now to finish off this tree, so that's the third pass. Looks like I got some of it. I think that one's dead now. Or they mulched up. So that's 4 passes. How many passes is it going to take? 5 passes. 5 licks to the center of a Tootsie Pop. And so this is right up against my backyard. It's the narrowest portion of his field that's kind of overgrown, and there's no ditch here, so I can go in and out really easy. But it's also not very deep. I mean, deep as in not many feet to mow. I should have recorded some more of this video. I don't have a whole lot of on the tractor footage. I couldn't find the head strap for my GoPro. I have since found it, of course. Can't imagine what that would look like in 3D. It's like all those horror movies with 3D and things flying at you. That little tree on the right that keeps popping back up, you'll see I run over it multiple times. I do eventually get it, it's just not on camera. So fear not, that tree is gone. Mowing forward and back, in and out, especially in ditch edges, seems to be the most productive. And it more easily mows over the goldenrod. The goldenrod is the main culprit here for things that don't get mowed because it's so tall. And it breaks off right at the base, so it just lays flat-ish. You can kind of cut off the top of it, and then it just springs back up after a little bit of time. So I'm mowing kind of close to the ditch. I'm not mowing all the way to the ditch though, because I want to keep a little bit of privacy for my yard. A little bit of consideration for myself there, since the owner of this property doesn't care so much about how much is mowed. Not that they really cared that it was mowed at all in the first place. These rose bushes were not much of a match for this, I must say. Unfortunately, it did push most of the rose bush into the ditch instead of cutting the rose bush up. But it did clear up the flat ground, which is pretty much all that matters in this case. The rose bushes may still be alive. I might have to go back and trim them with a hedge trimmer just to cut them off at the base. And then I'll just have to mow them again sometime in the future. Maybe by that point they'll say, hey, you did a great job. You want to come back and do it again, but this time for money? One can dream. And since it's technically a finish deck, it actually cleans up things really nice. In fact, I mowed my yard with this mower deck as well. It is heavy duty, and quite versatile, if I must say so, and fast. Here I'm mowing over a ditch. I thought the best way to do the ditch, at least at first, was to straddle it, and that way there's less chance of hitting anything that's in the ditch, like that white thing that you see that I just mowed over, or any unexpected geometries or geographies or geology, whatever, of the ditch shape. And again, there's goldenrod sticking up that I have to mow over 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 times. If I didn't have to mow over all that stuff twice, at least twice, then I probably could have done this entire job in about an hour. But since I did have to do all that, and I did have to move my camera around and record this on video, it took me about 2 hours start to finish to do this entire job. I'm still working out pricing, but I think if I were to price this job for somebody, it would probably be around $250 for the first hour and $150 for each hour after that. Minimum of maybe 1 hour. Maybe minimum of 2 hours, I'm not sure. I haven't worked out a lot of the costs for me. Of course, there's not a whole lot of cost because I don't have any loans on this tractor. I bought it outright. So even with a high barrier to entry for this tractor and this type of work, I feel that is an advantage that I would have to doing work, because I don't have to charge for a loan to pay off the tractor. Although I should probably charge anyways, so that I can buy a Ventrac in the future. Here's some more of that forward and back mowing that seems to be extra productive. Additionally, I'm double cutting. Not that that's really necessary, it just turns out to be the direction I was heading away from the camera so that you guys could see what I'm doing. And here I am going on that ditch, another pass, if you could imagine that. For a little bit of context, that ditch that you just saw me mowing is behind the camera and leading off to the right and back. This is a continuation of that same ditch that runs along the left side, and I'm just cleaning that whole area up too because, well, frankly, it needs it, and it's on their property, and I can mow it, so we're going to do it anyways. I mowed this hill sideways just to see if I could do it, and here I am mowing it up and down, and it does it just fine. No problems. A little bit light in the nose again. Going down. Now here's where the four-wheel drive really helps out. I see how it does in reverse, going up a hill. Now, any two-wheel drive tractor would have slipped there. There's nothing any one of them could have done unless they had a ton of ballast in the back. You can notice the front end is a little bit loose there. And I'm just trying to do circles on this 25-degree slope to see if we can do it. And there, it's not holding the slope. Lift up on the deck a little bit, and I get some weight on the front tires, and it steers just fine. I do kind of wish it had a longer wheelbase by about 6 inches. That would allow it to turn sharper, because the wheels would be further apart and you could angle in further. You can see it there lifting up the front end a lot. Just kind of demonstrating for the camera what happens if there's not enough weight on the front end. It still just slides down until I lift up the deck. As with any tractor, you have to understand how to do hills.
All right, let's take a look at the job that we got here. The only problem is I can't exactly mow these with a finish mower. Oh, there's my backyard. Anyways, let's look at the mowing job. This was some lighter stuff. There's some small tree stalks there, some more branches here. I'm gonna pick these up so it doesn't look so good. There's some chickens. You guys are a little bit far from home, huh? There's that chicken coop I built, it's over there. But they like all of this freshly mowed stuff because there's a lot of bugs in here. All right, let's take a look at the mowing that I did here. Now, there's a ditch here that serves a little bit of a complication. And I can mow on one side or the other or in the middle. And I can maybe cross it diagonally, but the mower deck doesn't really lift high enough, and I would really gouge one side of the ditch when I drove in. The mower deck would hit on the front corner. So there's a lower spot in the ditch, so I'd have to either cross up there where it's not so drastic, or there was a few times here where I came down the end of the ditch and I was able to work my way up and out over there. It's really hard to show on camera, but maybe a little bit of parallax there will help you see how drastic that crazy little ditch is there. Let's see, so I found that post in here. Mowing up, he told me that there was a few posts in here and then a brush pile. The brush pile was mostly chopped up, but I didn't want to mow over it because I didn't know if there was any like nails or screws or anything. So I was able to lift the deck up and keep my tires back here in the clear stuff and still mow over most of that. Now some of these, like this one here, didn't get it, but that's a fault of the mower deck that I'm using. It's not meant for this. I just noticed that the deck was stopping, so I had to reverse and hey, there's a post there. So, and I was able to mow on either side of it really easily, mow under a lot of this stuff here and keep my head out of it because the mower deck sticks out the front so far. Quality here. Most of this was done with just 2 passes, a forward and a back. A lot of this stuff over here had to be 3 or 4 passes going different directions. And then there were a few sticks, like there's a stick there, and then I picked up a bunch of sticks over there and threw them out. But it wasn't that hard to mow around them or mow over them with the tractor because I can lift the deck high enough and the big wheels are able to roll over those sort of obstructions. Here's another part of the ditch. I was able to mow first along the side, but then just going in and dropping the deck over the edge. I was able to get a lot of this stuff to the point where you don't even really need a weed whacker to clean it up. Unfortunately, some of this stuff, it just knock over right there. So it's not great, but again, not using the right deck. And then all of this ditch was in and out. Found a little bit of a rock here. Didn't do any damage though. And then down here there's a bit of this culvert that I hit. Looks like there's a bottle in there too. So I don't know exactly what that was for. But I didn't break that off. That was broken off before I did anything. And I didn't really want to mess with it anymore. So if I was doing this as a paid job, I would come back and just hand weed whack these few little bits here. But other than that, nothing even needs touched up with a weed whacker. Now the guy that normally takes care of this, he said that most of this area is too wet to even drive a tractor through. But in my case it was dry because it's the end of August and that's just our really dry period. But even if this was wet, I'm sure I would have been able to do the same quality of work. Ever since I got it to engage and disengage the latching paw here, I have to press down somehow on this sharp threaded end and or lift up here. Right now it's got some load on it, so I can't adjust it right now. But I got some knobs for this, so I can put that on and make that a lot easier to, or at least less painful, to engage and disengage. Right now it's stuck. Let me adjust that. So now, well, disengaging is pretty easy. I can just pull it back and then it releases, but then it's a lot easier to push down. Come on that knob as well. I already chased these threads with a nut, so they should go on pretty easy. This is one for the parking brake. I don't know why they were missing, but that just makes it so much easier to engage the parking brake. And I noticed that the PTO engagement lever here had a really ugly old red phenolic knob, so I'm going to replace it. I had an extra one I actually bought for one of my other tractors, and I'll put that on there and it'll look a lot more better. More betterer. There we go. There we go. That looks nice now. So here's what the tractor looks like after mowing all of that. Got some pretty good grass built up there. And the front edge is bent, but it was bent when I got it. So I think it's maybe just a sacrificial edge, because the actual iron channel behind it doesn't go down as far, and it's a lot thicker and more solid. I did notice after mowing that there's a tiny little crack here, so I'll have to repair that along with other things that this deck needs. Also, one of the bolts came out on this roller for the bearing here, so I have to put a bolt back in and rotate that back down to the hole down here, so that's not good. The entire time I was mowing I had this cover on, but it's not bolted down, and it was making a racket the whole time, but at least nothing was getting caught in the belts to throw the belts off or anything. Not that anything really went on top of this deck. I mean, you see the grass, but that all blew on top. Other things I've noticed, the wheel there is not really well seated on the bead, so I might need to up the pressure in that just to get it to seat, and then lower the pressure back down. So it's that wheel. I also noticed with this tractor that somebody had burned off something there with a torch or something. And that wheel runs a little bit crooked, but I think that's because it's not on the bead all the way. And this back corner tire here too is not on the bead all the way. So I gotta give it some pressure. It's holding pressure. Got a nice little chunk there. I don't know that that was me. If I start doing this as a business, I think I'll need to have a few of these tires on hand, just in case I get any flats. Although I don't know if it's that easy to notice a flat, because they're already mostly flat as intended. Some other things I was noticing with this tractor, well, first, this is upside down. But another thing here, this is, I think, I don't know exactly what this is for. If it's for like a power beyond, but electrical. Now the guy that sold it to me, he said that this is for the seat switch, to disable the seat switch. And, well, the seat is enabled right now, but it's only connected to the PTO. So the PTO has to be disengaged for it to run with nobody in the seat. Meanwhile, all of the hydraulics will work just fine. The forward and back and the up and down will work just fine without somebody in the seat. That plug in the back comes through this wire here into this box. I'm not sure exactly what for, and it's too big for the hole. This box is covering the hydrostatic motor for the rear differential. And by differential, I mean gearbox. And it's odd because there's some totally not stock wires in here. So like this is some sort of high voltage AC line. That doesn't belong in a tractor. So I don't know what that's for exactly. Obviously it's grounded here. And the other end goes to this. Huh. So he said it was for the seat switch, but I think that maybe this is a power switch to run something on the back of this, such as a salt spreader. That's probably what that's for. Judging by the amount of corrosion on this, I would say that this was used around plenty of salt. So that's probably what that was for. In which case I can probably just disconnect it and remove it, because it shouldn't be here anyways. If I was to use some sort of power on the back end, I would do something more in line with marine wiring, not whatever this stuff is. Another thing I noticed is that this, when backing up, well, here you can maybe, come on. Yeah, there we go. It harvested some dirt from a ditch. So I should probably take this off if I do some really extreme terrain, because when I back up against a ditch, that just digs in and it won't let me come backwards out of the ditch. So in the future I need to probably service these caster bearings and replace the dust caps. When I put grease in them, it popped the cap off, so that's probably not how that's supposed to work. These wheels need new bearings, or new wheels completely. I need some knobs there, and apparently one of our client's dogs is being pretty loud. I don't know what is going on there with that welding. Clearly something was moving and they tried to stop it. I think it's a common problem with these that the bolts that go into the gearbox, because the gearbox is aluminum, they don't hold so well. With all of the force on these axle housings, especially when you have dual tires, I think it just puts a little bit too much stress on those bolts. And so the bolts there, they loosen up over time. Now this one, I think, nope. Yep, right there. It's missing one, so I have to put one in too. Hopefully it's not stripped out. And since these are not working, and I don't know why, presumably maybe a bulb or a wiring issue, I'm going to rewire it anyways with these. So that's another video, hopefully coming up soon. I think this video is long enough already. I'll see you guys around next time. Like, comment, subscribe. So what is... Let me go shut the sprinklers off. With the wow.